pals, and welcome to Pals Pulls, our weekly comic book discussion podcast for the Comics Pals. I'm your host today, Tyler Olson. I don't know why I said my full name. And Marco. Say hello to everyone.
Hello, I'm Marco Cunalata.
I knew it was
Nice to
coming.
meet you.
Yeah, I knew you
I,
couldn't help yourself.
I, I was gonna do. I was thinking all four names, and I was like, maybe not.
You have four names? What are you, like the anti-Oprah?
I'm a Hispanic.
Okay, yep, you got me there. Got me there. Well, guys, this is the comic book review show where we read comic books and we talk about them. So this time on the show, we have five. I had to count in my head real quick. Five comics. Count them. Five. All right, I guess I'll do all the bits.
Count
Um,
them.
there we go. So we're reading Titans Beast World, number 1. Alan Scott, Green Lantern, number 2 of 6. The Flash, number 3, which was the listener pick because somebody here that is on the show currently decided it needed to be.
And thank you, Tyler, for setting that up because I want to take a moment to thank
Nope,
the
we
true
also are
fan.
going to be reading Conan the Barbarian, number 5. Uh, then Kaya, number 13. And Marco didn't read it, and I didn't ask any of the other pals to read it, but I wanted to talk about it. I'm going to talk some Howard the Duck later. But we're going to get right into it with Titans Beast World, number
Oh,
1. So this is written by the current writer of Titans and Nightwing, Tom Taylor, with pencils by Evan Rice, inker Danny Miki, colors by Brad Anderson, and letters by Wes Abbott. Huh. Huh. That's
ooh, okay.
that's my first thing is, huh. Um I really like this.
Yeah, same,
So, okay,
same.
so I think we've all been real lukewarm on Titans as a whole so far.
Yeah, yep.
Um and so when they announced, Titans Beast World was a thing, and that Tom Taylor was continuing his Titan stuff in a crossover comic. I still don't really know how this crossover works either. I'm sure there's a checklist in the back that I could have read, but I didn't. Um, I wasn't too jazzed about it when I first read about it. But as I got into this, I was like, man, this actually does feel like kind of a early New 52 DC event. It's horror leaning. It has Ivan Rice on art, who is like the DC event dude. There's that one shot of his Batman in here that's like kind of lit strangely, so you can't really see his face, but it's such an Ivan Rice Batman shot. Um, yeah, I actually really enjoyed this much more than the Titan stuff. It feels like the Titans are actually doing something here. That's comic booky.
There's stakes. I think the tasks that they have at hand are levels of like you need to be a super team to do this, and I think that was one of the biggest critiques that we've had is this doesn't feel like it's worthy of the Titans time, doesn't feel like it's worthy of the Titans name, and where's the Justice League? And I have a question on that. But
Yeah, I wanted to bring that up too when we get to it, but yeah.
yeah, but I this is they're called up to bat, and it's something serious, and there's a clever way to get around the villain. Um, in this case, there's a giant monster that is revealed by the Forever Knots, which I thought was a really cool just introduction device.
It's a deep cut, right?
I was thinking Micronauts.
Wrong
Um,
publisher. Yeah.
Right, right. And I was like, no, that's not right. I'm not sure actually, but I had fun with this. I thought it was a really good book, and I think compared to the Titans book that we've had, this was unexpected and unexpected fun.
This was the Titans book I wanted to have.
Agreed. Yeah.
It is, it's high stakes. It's super heroics, not just putting out literal fires. But it still has this kind of human element to it. There's the whole like emotional thread in this is Beast Boy and Raven, which trans media have a lot of love for because the Titans comics or sorry, Titans TV show, Teen Titans. I didn't read Teen Titans. I didn't watch Teen Titans Go, but that whole dynamic is something I really enjoy. So having
Hmm.
that be the emotional anchor, I thought was a good point. Beast Boy is kind of the heart of the team, so having him kind of be the main character of this, which was nice because it's not something I've seen, not since like Rot World, I think. was Beast Boy like integral to like a Titans event, you know?
And I mean, presumably and I think previously Beast World is like a moniker they've used in the past, which is one of the reasons Cale has kind of not been so hot on where this has been leading. So,
Interesting.
assumingly, he's been a hero who has led an event in the past. But yeah, I agree that because he is the heart of the team, this this makes the subsequent kind of fallout kind of tragic, and I worry for him. And you know what? You got me to emotionally connect to a character over the course of an issue. You did your job.
And they let Beast Boy actually do things that, I think we've posited on the show before. It's like, well, if Beast Boy could turn into an animal, why can't he turn into aliens?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what is answered here. He's like, he can if he has enough brain power to figure out how to do it. I thought that was great. That was real comic booky stuff.
Yeah, I agreed. Yeah. Oh, I don't have the actual mental facility to create the thing that I'm thinking of. I need a higher brain. It's like, what? Oh, that's crazy. Cool.
Yeah, so
Okay.
he picks like a whale that has just a bigger part of the brain that can do problem solving. Like that's such creative playing around with the character. I mean, it's like in screenwriting, it's using what you have in the room.
Mm.
Use what Beast Boy can do to actually do something cool with Beast Boy. I thought that was great. This felt a lot more like what I remember Tom Taylor's writing being, and DC Zombies stuff. Deceased. That's what I'm thinking of.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Or even like his Injustice stuff, where like it's an ensemble team book, but there's emotional stakes. There's super heroics. This is what I wanted. And honestly, I don't know if it was Nicola Scott as on the main book.
I believe so. That sounds right. Yes.
Um,
I
yeah,
can, I can check that real quick.
yeah. Double check that for me because I always get her mixed up with someone else. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think Avner Race is it's just more what I expect from this type of comic.
Yeah. Nicholas Scott.
I mean, he's the relaunch Aquaman guy. He's the Blackest Night guy. There is a hominess to seeing his art. This is my pick of the week. Right off the
No
bat,
way.
I was
Yeah.
just as surprised. Yeah,
Interesting. Okay. This one wasn't, but it was definitely a good book. This was a pretty well, maybe barring one or two. This was a good week. And yeah, the I think just to comment on the art, it was it just feels like classic superheroics. And I think the time frame that I started reading weekly books was New 52. So that's exactly the thing that I thought of. I'm like, oh, this is a nice bombastic event, got a good artist on it, got a writer that I've been having a lot of fun with, and now he's really pulling out all the stops. Awesome.
and I
Sweet.
think the art lends itself to the idea of what the Titans are supposed to be now because Ivan Rice is I think he helped draw some of Jeff Johns' Justice League, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So he's the Justice League artist, and if you want your Titans to be the replacement Justice League thing, throw him with the Justice League artist. I think it just makes sense to kind of drive that home a bit more. Even though the Justice League show up in this.
Yeah. That was my biggest confusion, was just like, hold on, everybody's there. What's up? And
Yeah.
I did appreciate that Beast Boy was like, no, hold on. Like, I can do this. And they weren't prompted. They took charge. They said, actually, this is a situation that we can handle. Not even a thing of like, we'll prove it to you. It is no, this is in our purview. This is, our Titans business. Yes, we'll do this. Yes, we can complete the task. The Titans are on it. I thought that was a good way to frame this adventure.
Yeah, but like the fact that Wonder Woman, Superman, and Batman are here, and they're consciously taking a back seat, just doesn't ring true to me.
Mm.
Like I mean, hey, fellow control freak here, but having that Trinity be there, and then the world is about to be destroyed, and you're just gonna take a back seat just for the benefit of the younger generation. Like, no, it's a world-ending threat. You need everyone there.
It,
It's just
I
like it's cute, but I just don't see how logistically that makes sense.
I hmm. So I took it as they understand that this is happening, but they trust the team. Like if you trust the team, then it should be okay to take over. It should be okay for them to do the things that are needed because I know that they'll get it done. I yeah.
Yeah, but I'm always up to like if you can do it, you know.
You gotta let the birds fly, man. You gotta let them out the cage sometimes.
Yeah, let him out of the cage with the entirety of the human race at stake.
Sometimes those are the stakes.
I
I
guess. I
I
guess.
did I did like Starro, or I like how they connected him to Starro.
Garo.
Yeah, well,
No, I thought it was. I thought that was in line with Beast Boy as a character.
no, it's good. It's
Yeah, it's
goofy,
cheesy, but it's good. Yeah.
but I like that they're like, oh, there are other creatures here that this has happened in the past. I think it was a cool. I know who Starro is. I can ground myself in that reality, and it being connected to the it being connected to that, and then this feels like this is the Starro version of the New 52's Justice League. Like they're having their moment to graduate, where in New 52 Starro comes in. That's like the first issue or two, and they beat him up, they clean up, they form a team. I think that's where this is uh like a bit of an homage to that, and then from there he's gonna go and do his own thing.
And this feels like more in line with the debut of the Titans as a super team. You know, even just
Yeah.
mentioning that Starro thing because that's what the Justice League did. You know, yeah. All in all, I really like this. I thought this was great. If this was the Titans book, go like for the past 6 issues. Actually, it's not even that much.
Three or four.
It's like 3 or 4. Like if this was Titans, I would have been so much more into it. Like this is the book I wanted, and I hope it can continue. I don't know what this event looks like in terms of release schedule and how it's released, but yeah, I really like this.
I agree with you. Yeah, I hope that the Titans book can become this, or can live up to this book in particular.
Yeah, so if you like us the way we like this book, you can
Ooh.
support us on Patreon. That's patreon.com/the comics pals, where you can get weekly newsletters by one of us each week. Who was up this week? It was like Cale, I think. I didn't. It
Sean
was
was
Sean.
up, and then I'm up
Okay, well
next.
that's how it works. Yeah, so every week or so you'll get a new one by one of us. You also can get your name read on the main show with the superpower. You get to vote in the book club. That poll should be up any minute now. Actually, I should probably get that up. And yeah. And if you like us, you can also join our YouTube channel memberships, and become a VI pal, where you can get a cool green name there, like a Tom account. I see you in the chat. Thanks. And you get some.
Christian Harriet there.
Oh yeah. And if you do that, you get early access to some videos as well. Every week we record a little something extra after the end of the Saturday shows offline to post later. But yeah, that'd be really great if you could. We'd appreciate it. Lets us do
Thank you
cool
much.
things. Speaking of cool things, you want to talk about this next book?
The Flash.
No, it's Alan Scott Green Lantern. Okay, maybe cool things was a
Oh,
bad segue. I'm not as practiced. Uh, but Alan Scott Green Lantern, number 2 of 6. This is by writer Tim Sheridan with art by Kian Tormey, colors by Matt Herms, and letterer Lucas Gattani.
um, this was good. It wasn't maybe as up to the same level as the previous issue. I think I did a bit more legwork, and this one was um
Interesting.
a lot more talky, a lot more like backstory.
I actually like this better than the first issue. There's a
Okay.
lot less superheroics in this issue. This issue is not a superhero book. This is about Alan Scott after being caught with another man in the war. Instead of being dishonorably discharged or whatever, he gets the option to I guess voluntarily admit himself into the deviancy wing of Arkham Asylum for being gay. And it's more of a discussion on what it was like to be gay around that time, like
Mm.
post World War II, and it's really messed up. Like I know Arkham Asylum is a pretty screwed up place already, but this kind of brings a more realistic view to it. Dealing with shock therapy, and Alan's roommate in his ward is, I guess, a trans person. She goes by she in the book, even though it looks like William Taft, the way it's drawn. But it just shows at the time like those people existed still. It's not a new thing, and it kind of takes a real approach to that in a book about a guy who has a cape and a magical lantern.
Mm, that's an interesting read of the character of Billy.
Wait, how is that an interesting read? That's the text.
Well, it's the text in that I think also there was a moment where actually I mean that recontextualizes it actually because there's a moment where he's talking to somebody but referring to Billy as he initially and then it switches to she, but
Yeah,
that's him
there's
just
a definitive change. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Never mind that.
which falls in line with the whole deviancy part of things, quote unquote.
Sure, yeah,
Which
and
a character who's a gay character, like, that's Alan Scott now. That's who he is. And it's a gay character in a time where we didn't really get to see or read gay character stories in that setting. So I
mm,
think this fills a really specific niche that's interesting to me because it's not stuff I read often.
yeah, and I think it's one of those things where it also because it exists, it warrants being talked about, and this is an example of that. There were moments in history where this thing happened to individuals, to gay individuals because uh, we didn't have the same level of social understanding as we do now, and so I think it's an important issue in that. Um, and then it was well told. I think Billy's a sympathetic character, good to bounce off of Alan. It was well paced.
I think, like, I mean, good thing Kale's not here because I don't care about Alan Scott. I'm not. I have no real horse in that race.
Mm,
So the whole super heroics part of it, it's like, no, I can read any other Green Lantern book. I can read a Doctor Strange book about magic, which I am, and that book is actually very good. But I kind of like that this is kind of doing its own thing. It seems like it's kind of outside of the realm of all the other stuff DC is doing. And yeah, I know it's only a 6-issue miniseries, but I also kind of like that.
mm. It's a condensed, contained story. It. Yeah, I agree. I think it's a good little mini. Go
And you
for it.
can having those parameters, I think, is sometimes beneficial to a story.
Yeah,
Sometimes
you
I
have
feel
to be
when
direct.
there's like an ongoing, creators don't really know where it's going because they don't know when it's going to end. So if you have a clear path of where you can go, um, I think they sometimes lead to better stories. And
Yeah, yeah, I agree. There was one moment that I really liked. They're in the cafeteria and they're talking about the Alan's ring, where it's like, oh, he's talking about like how when he gets out, he's gonna, he'll marry the first girl he sees because he's convinced that he has some sort of sickness. He's convinced that he can be cured and this is something to cure. And so when uh when Billy then responds and it's like, okay, then you can finally get rid of that eyesore that you're wearing, the thing on your ring. Sound familiar, Tyler?
wow,
It,
I ditched that thing right away.
but Alan goes, it's a trophy. Do you even know what it's for? And then Billy responds, do you? And the last panel there is I do. It's like, oh, well done. It's really good
Oh, I didn't even
subtext.
catch that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh, really good subtext. This is who I'm. This is who I am. I'm affirming that, even though I'm saying something contrary to you. That's the anger, but the truth still comes out. I thought it was really well done.
My only real knock with this is that I feel like the whole Arkham Asylum stuff is great, and then towards like 2/3 in or 3/4 in, he kind of tells the rest of his story, and then it becomes really condensed. And he's like, "Oh, and I met this person, I met this person, I met this person,"
Oh yeah,
and it was a little too machine gun at that point, mostly because it feels like this was the issue where where Tim Sheridan could tell that story, and he needed to fit all of it in one issue. Because by the end of this, we already got the looming Red Lantern in the back, which it's fine. It's a very small gripe, because all
yeah,
in all, I did enjoy this. I did not expect to like this book at all. Just did it on paper, seemed like my thing, but I'm enjoying it a lot so far.
yeah. I'm having fun. Which call it. This is a
Having
character who.
fun where people are getting lobotomized, Mark.
It's a good book.
Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean.
But this is yeah, this wasn't something that I would have expected to want necessarily, or expected to sit down and be like, okay, cool. I'm just gonna take a gander through the book. But it's been holding up its own, and I think that for a book that maybe not as many people are gonna pick up, just because it's not a main title, it's not a main Green Lantern book. It's an Alan Scott. It's a mini. I think it warrants people's time.
And I kind of wish DC would market it a little more as like, not market it as the gay book, but like as maybe like a pride thing, and maybe talk about it a little more and market it that way. I know Tim Sheridan's been a little more on the nose, but I think that's fine to get more people to read the book on social media. So kudos to him. But that's big two comics at this point. You got to market your own book.
Yeah, yeah. And I feel like if they did, I think I mean frankly, I think whilst the gay part of this is important to the story and to the character, it's also just telling a story, and I don't know that that needs to be the focus to hook people in. Like you can come in here and discover that this is the book and you'll have a good time.
It doesn't feel like a queer superhero story as much as a superhero who is queer. Does that make sense?
Yes, exactly.
And
Yeah,
there are
yeah.
there and like because the heart of it is, yes, there are all these actual real life things that happened, but this is still, I think it was who said it, Dan Trudeau in the chat said this is Alan Scott. This fits right in with Alan Scott, no matter what people complain about. And I think at its core, yeah, this is Alan Scott. It's a guy who cares about people,
Hmm.
and the people that come into his life. Um, yeah, no, I thought this was good. Recommend.
Yeah. Yeah, this was a poll.
Speaking of polls, you pulled together a whole bunch of support this week to get Sean to read The Flash, and he couldn't even make the show due to
Damn.
some family issues. But yeah, The Flash #3. This was a listener pick. Marco campaigned for this. This is by writer Cy Spurrier, with art by Mike Diodato Jr., colors by Tristan Mulvihill, and letters by Hassan Atsmani Elahu.
Yep, yep. And Tyler, thank you for giving me this chance
Yeah,
on this
I'm gonna
book.
ask why. I want you to kind of explain yourself, because it's not like Luke Cage had a book for the first time in like 5 years this week. It's not like Jessica Drew finally has another Spider Woman book. Um, but you made me read The Flash, and I read it, and I have thoughts. But why?
I'm genuinely having a lot of fun with this book. I like this. This to me is a love letter to 90s Vertigo comics. Like weird sci-fi, wonky ass horror. This is that book to me at the moment. Like just the opening. Just the opening where they're talking about what is this uh thing that has appeared. We're going with spooky Speed Force stuff. There's no
I
explanation.
hated that.
Oh,
I
it
hated the opening.
it brings you to the limits of reason and understanding, and I like that this is Mr. Terrific because he's he's a super intelligent individual, and once you get to a point where your reasoning and your logic and the science makes no longer makes sense, then you're at will to have to fill in the gaps with some level of mysticism, some level of otherworldliness, some level of sci-fi, and that's where I feel like this book sits.
So I did hate the beginning with Mr. Terrific. I find Mr. Terrific to be a likable character if done correctly, and he's so cold, and he's just a robot in this. He's
Mm,
just the science guy. He is the the spokesperson for science in a book that kind of wants to question what actually is science. Um, and I found him grating, and I found Barry honestly annoying, or sorry, Wally honestly annoying. And this is an issue I have as well. I can't tell the difference between Barry and Wally, both in costume and characterization at this point. So I think that's an issue. This doesn't feel like Wally or Barry to me. It feels like the Flash, which I think is a problem.
Mm.
That being said, once I woke up from reading all that science-y, Y&C mumbo gumbo in the beginning, and they actually get to, I think, what this book wants to be. The idea that there is a reality to the Speed Force that we cannot see or have never seen. That when somebody is running through the world at speeds unimaginable to the human eye, what effects can that cause on other realms of space and time?
Yep.
And I think that is a wildly weird concept that I'm intrigued about. I will say I'm intrigued. I don't find the characters compelling yet. And I can see why Diodato is on this book once we get to that idea of what we're tackling with there.
Ooh, yeah.
I think there could be some real wacky stuff there. They go to they accidentally go to the realm of spiritual beings, which I thought was really interesting. And the premise has finally hooked me, but there's a lot of stuff else I don't really care much for in this book.
I so the that plane, that like midway plane, um I think that was a direct, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I think that was a direct reference to Swamp Thing, where like once a level of his consciousness gets to a certain point, then he reaches this like limbo plane. Um, I think uh the alternate and the differences in reality, I think, are really interesting because he's talking about math, and he's talking about like different angles, and you have different purviews, and relative to something else, like how do you uh distort your perception of something. Good stuff.
There is no quicker way to lose me than talking about math.
Oh, so
I took
good.
remedial math in college. Math puts me to sleep instantly. Like honestly, I use rain sounds to go to sleep, like ambient noise, weather, rain, thunderstorm sounds. I should just put on the sounds of math because that might knock me out quicker. And I'll be
What is
honest,
the
like
sound of math?
I read this last night and it put me to sleep where I had to pick it up where I left off this morning.
No.
Yeah, that first half just took me out. I was out. But again, like I'm on the hook for at least issue 4. The premise
No.
finally got me to the point where I'm like, all right, I'll keep going.
Like the that third or second page, strange attractor, and then Mr. Terrific just like
Nope.
pulls out his definition: a broad term, a chaotic set of fractal calculations whose solutions adhere to a non-chaotic
Yeah,
pattern.
I'm reading that in like the Pokédex voice, the broad term Pokemon, like that kind of thing
Oh
where it's
yeah.
just like I'm not this. There's no. I like so like having read Alan Scott Green Lantern where there's a lot of emotional core there. There is none here. This is a very cold book, which is weird because I feel like Barry is not a cold person. Or sorry, Wally. See, I'm getting them confused because there's an issue there. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I'm at least I'm in for issue 4. I don't know if we'll get lucky enough to talk about it on the show, but we'll see. This will man, is this book going to be in your like best of the year list?
No, probably not. But
Okay, all right.
it's really good. And I do think that your point about this Flash sounding just like a Flash, not necessarily an individual character, I think that's salient. Because until you call that out right now, I actually didn't realize that or remember that the previous person we've been following has been Barry. Because in both situations, they're just confused. They are experiencing the world, and there is confusion, and that is my reading of their characters at the moment.
I also think that's just a general DC issue right now.
Mm.
Different because Barry and Wally were never really meant to exist together as the Flash, but they want to have their cake and eat it too. So They have yet to figure out how to properly juggle that.
Okay, fair enough.
But I don't think this book has done any favors for it either. So I don't
Yeah,
want to absolve it of its sins there.
there's no distinction of character, and I think that that becomes a problem because I was reading it as our previous POV, and until and I read that first panel, aka Wally West, but it didn't phase me because
Me neither.
I don't have associations, you know.
Yep. The only way you can tell it's not Wally is because I feel like Barry would be more into the science, but that's about it.
Which I was confused about. I'm like, oh, why are you questioning this stuff? Aren't you like a scientist?
Barry
And
is,
then
Wally isn't. Yeah.
right, and so then I was like, oh wait, okay,
Then maybe lean into that a little more, you know, or do this
yeah.
in an office where you can take his mask off. Like, all right, if I see he's a ginger, then I can tell.
I do think the other thing that they do with the crumpling of the page, where it's gonna get a bit meta. I think
Interesting.
he's shown his hands a little too early for what the book is. Like this is like, all right, you're leading to something, Sai, cool, but you let a little bit too much out. Like this is too much of a preview because now I think I know where you're going.
It's gonna go into this is gonna be Siceburiger's Animal Man.
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
like
So
super meta,
yeah,
super just like playing with form and stuff, which I'm up for, but I believe I don't know if the book has earned that yet.
I agree with you. Yeah, like once Siceburiger shows up in this book and some form of plane that the Speed Force can access, I'll be like, all right, well, you do like Vertigo. I mean, here's the thing: Siceburiger's Hellblazer, I think, is Vertigo. You know,
Yeah,
that feels like Vertigo to me. The Flash, just a character I never really thought would dip its toes into that. So
and man, it's working so well.
Diodato still cannot draw a gorilla. I'm sorry. I don't know what those are big feet. Those are big foots. Those
Huh?
are yeah. Huh. Were you doing an impression of that cat? Huh? Meme?
Huh?
Huh? Yeah, I
Huh?
keep seeing that. But that's the Flash. I'm still confused. I am on uneven ground with this Flash book. But here's the thing I can give it. It is different. It is the most different Flash book I've ever read. And I can appreciate when creators try to do something weird.
Yeah, yeah. The, the only other question I had was the Folded Man, Edwin Gauss.
No idea.
Is that okay? All right, I was gonna ask.
It is apparently a Flash villain. Uh, he was in Infinite Crisis. He was in One Star Squadron. Um, he can shift from a 3D body to a 2D or even 4D body. How do you shift to a 4D body? I'm unsure. But
Just add a direction.
play with the medium, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. You just add, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it, but yeah, I would have liked
And
Luke
the
Cage.
gallery, the gallery of moments, that was cool. That's another like, oh, is this like Parliament, like a Parliament of Trees situation, or like a Parliament of Time situation?
So I think that's like the Flash Museum, which is a thing in Flash comics. Are you familiar with the Flash Museum?
No.
So it could because Bart, Kid Flash, comes from the future,
Oh, okay, yeah.
where there is a Flash Museum of the Flash throughout history, and that's where I felt like Wally went in this. That's what it felt like to me. It felt like either an even older Flash Museum or newer. Oh man, this is Doctor Who lingo in my head because it looked like the nature overtook it.
Mm,
I thought that's what that was, but I don't know.
interesting. Yeah.
So Dan says the big distinction used to be you can see Barry's eyes, but Wally's Cal always has wide eyes like Batman. Interesting. Yeah, I could see that. I could see that, but I don't remember if his eyes were visible in this or not.
At least not in the previous issues. I don't remember. But in this one, he's the white eyes, so it would be Wally.
Okay. Yeah, I guess yeah. Maybe that's a flash fact for you. This wasn't your pick of the week, right?
It wasn't, no, but
Interesting. Okay, we're not there yet.
yeah, but this was good. This was really good.
Okay, well, let's get into the Titan comics side of things with Conan the Barbarian, number 5. This is by writer Jim Zub with art by Doug Braithwaite, colors by Diego Rodriguez, and letters by Richard Starkings. It's funny because Conan, previously Marvel had the rights to Conan. Jason Aaron had written a whole bunch of Conan stuff that I really enjoyed. Mahmoud Asrar on art, and then they lost the rights, and Titan picked it up. And actually, Jim Zub wrote a lot of Conan for Marvel as well. So once Conan came to Titan, he just kind of continued writing Conan.
Mm.
And this is where we are. This is number 5. This new jumping on point. What'd you think of this? I want to hear your thoughts first.
Um, this was good. I mean, it felt like a well constructed comic. I think the fantasy elements of it aren't necessarily my like jam, but uh, I had a good enough time. I don't think anything here was lost upon me. This is issue 5, so we're kind of jumping in at some point of things have happened, but yeah, nothing about this. Yeah, nothing about this was bad. It was a good comic.
The thing with Conan that I've learned is that everything is kind of like a jumping in the middle of like in media res sort of thing,
Mm,
because his story spans from being a young gladiator almost to being King Conan, and every time there's a new arc, it's just like I'm gonna pick a time and a part in this timeline.
sure.
Um,
Yeah.
and this is just that. So I'm kind of used to that with Conan. And Jim Zub is a guy who's been writing. He's been writing Dungeons and Dragons lately as well. And this kind of felt like a merging of a D&D kind of campaign with Conan. The whole issue sets up Conan getting almost accidentally getting a team together to pull off a heist, which is the most in a tavern as well, which is the most
Yeah.
D&D opening to any Conan story ever. You got like a thief, you got like a guy who has like a priest, so I don't know, he's like a magey sort of thing. You have Conan who's a barbarian, um, and this other guy who is more like a fighter. So it felt very D&D, which I enjoyed.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Same.
I don't find
Just
Conan compelling as a character. I think Conan really relies on the supporting cast.
I feel like there's like an adoration for the IP, and that's where maybe people jump in on. It's because yeah, I mean I this didn't make a Conan fan out of me necessarily. I haven't seen the movies. I haven't seen this is maybe my third ever Conan book, so there's not an affection there necessarily. And I don't
Were
think
you,
it's because yeah.
were you surprised that it wasn't a really tall ginger guy who told jokes?
Oh.
It took you a bit.
It took me. I was like, what?
Yeah.
I'm like, this guy's not ginger. He used to, he used to just scare me, dude. Like, he used to be, he was like super pasty, and I was just like,
Wait, Conan O'Brien used to scare you as a child?
he was just pasty. He's a pasty, like, pasty guy. I don't know. I was just like, who is this guy?
Uh,
But this character,
yeah, let's just brush that over. Yeah.
uh, I don't know. I don't feel like I get to learn who he is, and I feel like he's somewhat one dimensional. He's come here, get the job done. All right,
That's kind of
whatever he
how I feel about
wants.
Conan. Conan he's like the potato chips of comics.
I
Is
really thought you were gonna say the potato chips of comedy.
no, Conan O'Brien is like I'm a big Conan O'Brien fan. He does not scare me. I love Conan. But Conan the Barbarian feels like the plain potato chips of comics. It's like it's always there, and you can always grab something Conan, and usually
Mm,
it's gonna scratch the itch that you want it to scratch. You know, it's gonna have there's some really good Doug Braithwaite death scenes in this. Like there's one of Conan stabbing a guy in the face, and his teeth are just falling out of his face. It's graphic, and it's kind of what you expect in this. And I think the Diego Rodriguez colors kind of lend to this almost like a Frazetta painting feeling in
ooh,
this,
yep. That's a
which is
great
which is
pull.
what you should do for Conan. That makes sense. There's a lot of yellows, there's a lot of browns. It's a very warm palette, even in the dark, and it's violent. So I think it is a pretty damn solid Conan comic. But I also don't expect Conan to be what the Flash is for Flash comics right now. I don't expect to read a Vertigo interpretation of Conan the Barbarian. But as I say those words, I would be interested in that.
a nice little, a quick little monologue or two where he's,
No, no,
just
no, no,
being
no, no. Conan does not
going
monologue.
going eloquent and all poetic about, the meaning of this person he just killed.
Read Thor for that. That's not Conan. I'm sorry.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah,
Yeah.
wax poetic. But that's actually a good comparison where like I feel like Thor is a more compelling character than this, and I feel like they have maybe a similar aesthetic in that they're heroes, they're fighters of some sort of larger mythology, but this didn't hook me necessarily.
So Dan Trudeau actually says no joke in the original story is Conan has bipolar depression. Is that why he's such a good comedian? Never mind. Um, the Yeah, I think like when I think of Conan in its weird chronological non chronological storytelling sense, the uh, King Conan can wax poetic because he's old, he's hardened, he has
Mhm.
stories to tell, which is honestly what a lot of the old younger ones are kind of bookended by. It's like King Conan telling a story, even the Jason Aaron comics did that. Um, but I just don't see it for this Conan. This Conan that we're reading right now, he's young, he is heartbroken, and he's drunk.
Word. Yep.
This guy was just me a year ago,
Us a year ago.
minus the moida, allegedly,
Allegedly, right.
allegedly. Yeah, I think if you like Conan, I think this is a good Conan comic.
Agreed.
And honestly, I think
Easy pull.
that's pretty high praise. I think because I don't expect much.
I, hmm. I don't expect much, and this maybe met, if not exceeded, expectation. But I'm not in love.
You're not picking up Conan every month now.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But this was a pull. This was like you said. If you're a fan of the character, this is a pull.
yeah. This felt like it was in line with the Marvel stuff too. So if you liked the Marvel stuff and have kind of been uneasy with switching publishers, I think this is fine. This is pretty much the same stuff.
Yep.
I didn't pick this up physically, so I don't know if the paper difference is a thing, but honestly, it can't be worse than Marvel's paper at this point. So maybe physically, this might be even an upgrade for you.
Titan probably invests in their comics.
You'd hope. But let's get to, I guess, your pick of the week here
That's right.
with Kaya number 13 from Image Comics. This is an easy creator list to talk about because this is Wes Craig on writing and arting Wes Craig that I've been trying to get to, but I usually have to get to like the other books we read normally for the show. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just jumped right into this. Yeah, I didn't have time to read 12 other issues.
And I think off of the back of this, it excited me enough to be like, whoa, wait, what did I miss issue one?
Yep.
Was I not
I mean,
aware about this
yes,
comic?
you did miss
Um,
issue 1, Marco. This is issue 13.
well, and that was the thing that made it the book of the week for me was it's like this made me want to catch up and read more and dig and dive a little bit deeper. Where I this was just it brought you into the world. It got you grounded with your characters. I understood who the characters were. The art is it's beautiful. The colors are I can't tell if they're always digital or sometimes like watercolored, which a favorite aesthetic of mine. Loved it. Even the lettering, man, down to the lettering. There's such a care. There's a moment on what is this page one, two. There's a moment on page two, the very last panel on page two. There the lettering uses this like it looks like it's raised a little bit, has like a little bit of a shadow underneath the bubbles. It's used twice in this book.
Who says it?
Only
Is it Kaya that says it or Jin?
no, both characters, Jin and Kaya,
Got it.
and it's used here and it's used in another moment, almost like a page or two before the end, explicitly in these moments. And I was sitting there being like, why? Like, what is the reason? What was going on? And it looks like it's just to make a slight distinction between something that is slightly off white than to put a white background. And I'm like, okay, one, that is incredible attention to detail and care. You're 13 issues in, my hats off. Because for you to be like, I'm going to use this specific bubble technique here at this point, just for this and just for another moment, I was like, whoa, okay. You know what? You got me with that. You're paying attention. You care about this book. You give a damn about this book to be this prescriptive about something. I've been I'm impressed.
So first off, Wes Craig is a chill dude. So I've been wanting to actually get into this, after meeting him at New York Comic Con this year.
Nice guy.
Probably like the most soft spoken dude we talked to.
And he's like fun. Remember the moment where he like walked past us where he's just like
Yeah,
Steranko?
he was trying to get us to talk to. He's like, should I talk to Frank Miller? And I'm like, yeah, dude, just talk to Frank Miller.
Oh
He's like,
yeah.
nah, I can't do it. I'm
Yeah.
like, it's
So
fine.
awesome.
But you know, getting into Kaya, I didn't really know what to expect from this.
Mm.
I had read the solicits for like issue 1, but that's over a year ago. My memory card in my brain is like a PS2 memory card. There's not much space up there. Actually, it's more like a Sega Dreamcast one where like it's got like a cool LED panel on it.
Not enough blocks.
Not enough block. Yeah, there you go. I thought you were too young for that.
I got it.
There you go. But it was cool to jump into this. This felt a bit like it's Commandy meets The Last of Us in a way.
Oh,
It's this uh, uh, younger character who's like really strong, but now has to be a parental figure for this really young and naive and scared younger kid who is the key to saving the world.
mm.
So like a little like Lone Wolf and Cub a bit. But the whole world is interesting. Like I haven't read the rest, any of the other issues, and I jumped into this, and this issue was solicited as a jumping on point, which
Okay.
was nice. It says new story arc, 2023 Ringo Awards nominee for best kids comic and best cartoonist. Yeah, and I think it is a good jumping on point. It kind of establishes where the world is. There's a good recap page that you can read that
Yes.
gets you up to speed pretty dang quickly. Because the story isn't the most revolutionary story. And I don't think that's what this book is. I think the book is more of the craft of comics and the art.
Yep.
Wes Craig, after reading Deadly Class with Rick Remender, is a true pro at this, and I thought this was a fantastic book. Enough so where I might bring Kaya up on my to read pile a little further up in the queue
Hey, there you
to
go.
finally get caught up because I did like it. It looked really good.
One of the markers for me to tell whether or not an environment is rendered well artistically or described well in a book is if I can smell it. And if I can imagine a smell to that thing, then I'm like, oh, you know what? You did a really good job explaining this to me. Like for
Okay.
example,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
they're
need an example here. Yeah.
like they're in they come out of the sewers and everything. Like the sewers, first of all, you could imagine sewers, whatever, right? But they come out
That's
of the
just New York.
sewer, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
and they make it to the like this land of the pirates, and I'm like, okay, the pirates they look like these mer people. The ground around them is surrounded by coral. Even the places at which when they come out of the ground or when they come out of the sewer, they're drenched, they're wet, and the fight that happens, that arena felt like, oh, okay, I can. There's something moist about this, or maybe like a little salty, or you know what I mean, like.
Did you just say there's something moist about this, referring to a digital comic book you read?
Or like damp, I can smell, I can
There's a
perceive a
texture.
dampness.
There's a texture to the story and the art. Yeah.
Well,
Ugh.
but I can, but the world was rendered well enough. Dan,
Dan in the chat says Marco was smelling colors. He may have a head injury. Well, not wrong.
wouldn't be the first one. Wouldn't be the
Not
first
wrong.
one. But you know what I mean? Like there, it's just it feels like it's a well described world, uh, and that's the way that I can tell it's being well done is if I can perceive that through a sense that is not actually there or is not actually being stimulated.
I get that. I don't understand you at all, but I sort of understand you.
Yeah.
The I can see that. So for like where I guess things need to have a more of a multi-sensory mimicry for you, I guess if that makes sense. If there's a hallmark to a good story for me, That's anthropomorphized animals. Like you put an animal in barbarian armor, I'm sold. I'm a simple man. Like that is the easiest thing to get me into it. I think this is a good book if people like Adventure Time. It kind of feels like Adventure Time a bit,
Oh yeah.
just minus the extra goofiness. So probably like later stage Adventure Time. I didn't really picture this as a kid's book until I read the solicit,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I can totally see it. Yeah, I can see that.
Like the art in it, it's very cartoony. I don't want to say it's YA because I feel like that lumps people into a category. But Arena Telgemeier is a comparable artist, if
I
not in
would
the same style.
I would say it's YA. It kind of feels into the post apocalyptic world of YA fiction. Maybe not comics, more likely, but in fiction.
Yeah, that's fair.
If you like Hunger Games, I'm sure you could like this.
Oh, sure. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
If you
Okay.
like, I don't know, Maze Runner, that is like what YA or at least the film like leads you to believe YA is. It's just post apocalyptic, kids having to become adults, really. And that's what this feels like. I thought this was
Yeah.
great. This was your pick of the week.
This was my pick of the week. Yep.
Hell yeah. Hell
Yeah.
yeah.
Really good story, really good world. I'm interested. I'm invested just off this issue. In these characters
Same.
and their mission.
Same. There's a reindeer dude. And there's gonna be like a pirate arc. This feels like the pirate arc of Critical Role season 2. Which if I know Sean's not here, so he might not be into it. But you and I, Marco, pirate
Oh,
fans,
pirate fan, dude. Easy.
love that
Easy. You know
booty.
what? You know what? Pick of the week for pirates.
Hey, both start with P. But not my pick of the week. But I did want to talk about something because I could not let a week go by where Howard the Duck book comes out and I don't talk about it. So this is a 50th anniversary Howard the Duck book that is it's a return of Chip Zdarsky writing Howard in kind of
Oh,
like a book-ended fashion with what-if stories thrown in between. And some of the writers are Daniel Kibblesmith, Jason Liu, Merritt Kay, Joe Quinones comes back for the Chip Zdarsky stuff. Annie Wu comes back for the Daniel Kibblesmith story, which I missed Annie Wu in comics. Annie Wu was great.
she's been doing like indie stuff.
I think she does. And Derek Charm comes in here too, who I like as well.
I'm not familiar.
This is fun. This is it's kind of just an anthology book for Howard stuff. It's a classic anniversary book. It's this like near future where Howard realizes the universe that he's in sucks, and so he talks to not the Watcher but the Peeper, which is like a retired Watcher who can't really be a Watcher anymore, but he still likes looking at things. So he
Oh
kind
my
of
god.
he has like a greasy tank top on. He looks a little overweight for a Watcher. It's such a Chip thing to do, and then he
That's
peeks into
good.
these alternate universes.
Just
There's
for
one.
fun.
Yeah. This is a fun book. This is
Yeah.
definitely a fun book. The story I like the most is the Daniel Kibblesmith Annie Wu story, which deals with what if Howard actually became president? Because there was that whole thing of Howard the Duck, where he was running for president, and they had pins for it, like actual pins you could do, pretty
Yeah.
similar to like what Disney did with Winnie the Pooh for president. But it's what if he became president, and he gets attacked by these. Almost like what are they known as the let's see if League of Comic Geeks wants to tell me. No, they don't. But the focus group, these aliens that are taking all of Earth's heroes and trying to condense them into the cleanest version of themselves, the most marketable version of those characters.
That's so good.
And it's great to use Howard for that because Howard is like the character when it comes to like the genesis of creators' rights between the big two. Gerber, that was his thing, where he wanted the rights to Howard. Marvel did not give it to him, so he made Destroyer Duck. He made all these other ducks outside of Marvel Comics because technically he could.
Wait,
When he was a
really?
big proponent for creator rights. Dude, yeah, Howard the Duck has significance outside of the text that I think people underappreciate. It's one of the reasons why I love Howard the Duck as a character. So it's kind of Howard fighting a comic book villain version of corporate greed and corporate dilution of characters and art. And at the end, just kind of giving up, which is in line with Howard. And that has Bev in it too. This is just
Hey,
fun, fun Howard the Duck stuff. And it is cool seeing Chip and Joe Quinones back. I have a Joe Quinones Howard the Duck commission on my wall.
it's very good.
Yeah, I just love this character. So it was cool to see him back, and I wanted to talk about it. So,
Hey man,
yeah.
that's awesome. And I'm glad that it's like a resurgence of that that era of the Howard the Duck stuff that you enjoyed too.
So Brandon Barnett says Gerber rescued Howard from Marvel and continuity. The Howard we have now is a clone, which is funny because one of the bits in this at the end, it's like the reveal is that what's her name? Tara Tam, who's like Howard's sidekick in Chip's run. She's like a Skrull that can do a whole bunch of things. But she goes to feed Howard a treat, and it turns out Howard is actually a mech, and there's just an actual duck in a mech. Walking around as Howard, and it's not really addressed. It just ends there, and it's weird. But it's a fun book, and I liked it.
He's a very flexible character.
Howard has a great character, underused. One of the stories is if Howard the Duck was Star-Lord.
Oh, I think I've seen it.
Yeah, and it's during the Kitty Pryde era of Bendis's Guardians of the Galaxy run, which is like that's the Guardians run I want to go back to least. But it's fun seeing Howard in that role. But it was fun. But those are the books we're talking about this week.
Good stuff. Good selection. Good selection of books.
Surprising. Yeah. From your feedback, we've been trying to do a little books we might not normally have talked about on the show. Kaya being one of them, Conan being one of them. So we're going to try and, if you appreciate that kind of thing we're doing, we'll try and do a little more. Just kind of scratch different itches.
That's right, and not all of them are going to be number one, so it won't be the beginning of an arc necessarily, but similar to Kaya, places that we feel make sense to jump in, so it's easier for people to acclimate, and if people want to continue from there, more power to you guys, or even us.
Yeah, so you guys didn't want us to talk about Spider-Man Gang War Prelude number 1, but yeah. So Dan says he appreciates it, so thank you. But before we go, we wanted to talk about one more thing. Just one more thing. Is that a Jackie Chan Adventures reference?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, oops.
One more thing.
But a big thing on the internet this week is something called Spotify Wrapped.
Let's go.
It's essentially what Spotify does every year. They kind of culminate and they do all the data crunching for your listening habits throughout the year. And Marco and I wanted to out ourselves in our musical taste on this week's show.
I'm proud of my musical taste.
So this is what I want to do. I want you to look at mine, and I want to look at yours, and we'll just judge each other. Okay?
Okay.
Is it cool if we just, as a fully judgmental realm right now?
Yeah. Wait, do you have yours up? Where is it?
I'm gonna put mine up. Yeah. So
Okay.
it's up. I'll vamp a little bit while you look at it.
Okay.
But yeah, I listen to music mostly when I drive, so I'll talk about music listening habits here. So my minutes listened to is not as big as I normally would think. Mostly because I drive and listen to music. If I'm at home, I'm usually listening to podcasts, honestly. But my top artist this year, in the year 2023, so we'll go from the bottom up. Number 5, Lady Gaga, constantly in my top 5. I just can't get enough. Number 4 is ABBA. I am a lover of disco. And I love ABBA because their music is just so upbeat and their lyrics are so depressing. It's the dichotomy between that. And also, I'm a big Mamma Mia fan. That movie is... I saw that with some friends this past summer. We went to like a sing-along version of Mamma Mia. And I think that reignited my love for ABBA again. And I just kept reading and listening to it for another half year.
Yo, they do disco nights at a place in Brooklyn. Let me know, man. I've been to one. It's a lot of fun.
What are we going to do? Like, I don't know what drugs they did during disco.
You could just go to dance, Tyler.
I'm horrified of dancing.
Oh,
I need to be under some form of influence, preferably booze, to do that. It is on like that and singing are my biggest fears.
Oh, I'm like that for singing.
and
I don't like
tornadoes.
that.
Eh,
Tornadoes are chill.
it's irrelevant. Number three, Dua Lipa.
Respect. It's good.
It
Good.
wasn't just the Barbie movie. That definitely my number two most listened to song. But yeah, I like Dua Lipa. Kim
But she-
Petras number two. Kim Petras is killing it this year. She is. Are you not familiar with Kim
I actually don't know
Petras?
who Kim Petras is.
Listen to Coconuts. That's like a good introductory song, and then get into like I think Oh is one of my most listened to songs. And then Charlie XCX, which I think this is my second year in a row where Charlie's been my top listened to artist. I think it was in like 0.5% of listeners for Charlie.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's a very pop heavy list, even though my top genre was rock, and that's probably because I've been listening to Creed a lot lately. But yeah, I like dancey music, even though I'm horrified of dancing.
I mean, you know what? Like this, I can't judge this. These are all good artists. The only person I don't know is Kim Petras and XCX. I only know tangentially. Like there's a few
She's been in a
songs
lot of
here
other
and there.
people's songs, yeah.
Yeah. So like, I haven't given her a proper listen to. Lady Gaga, amazing. ABBA, amazing. Dua
There was
Lipa.
an ABBA tour recently where they were holograms.
What?
Yeah, and I guess I had issue with that, but like in
Why?
retrospect, I probably should have went.
Yeah, why not? That's
It
kind of
was
cool.
creepy. It was creepy.
But they were like dancing there, like
They were
they were
projected
somewhere,
onto a stage essentially.
but they were somewhere in the world doing this, and then it was being projected there.
No,
Or
I
was
think
it
ABBA.
recorded?
I think if they're not dead, they're old. And
Oh,
can't
I see, I
perform.
see.
Yeah,
Okay, okay. Oh, that's a little different.
yeah.
I'm
Like
not
honestly,
there like
like
that.
if Elvis did a projection show, would you go?
Nah, I don't care for Elvis.
Oh, I love Elvis, man. Elvis is so good. Minus the whole spousal abuse thing, but you know.
Well, you know,
So let's look at yours. Let's look at yours.
so mine. Hold on, I
Yours
have
is
mine up.
interesting.
So mine. Okay. So I'm gonna do from the bottom up same way.
It's had like
Bad
5
Bunny.
times as much more minutes listened to as me.
And I'm so mad because I really want to get to like at minimum like maybe 80K, but I need to do more listening apparently. And I saw in the Discord, I think Harris and Kefis had like over 112 or some shit like that, which is absolutely incredible. Like I love that people listen to that much music. The But yes, I have Bad Bunny is number 5. I love his stuff. I think even before the new album came out, what is it? The one he dropped 2020? No, 2021. Yeah, I love his stuff. And El Apagón, which is on my top songs over there, is probably one of my favorite tracks of his, especially off of that last album. Un Verano Sin Ti. Lauvi, I've been in love with Lauvi for the past 2 years, I want to say. So it's been awesome to see her rise, like her meteoric rise into the world of pop. I got to see her live about a month ago, and man, just good ass music. Really, really nice jazz leanings in the way that
Yeah.
she,
Okay.
yeah, she pulls a lot from that kind of aesthetic and that world. Even though it's largely pop, the influences are there and felt.
I've been seeing her a lot more recently.
It's huge.
You mentioned her like a year ago, and like since then, like she's had a big year, I guess, because I've been seeing her outside of you talking about her.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
She's probably one of the top played artists this year. And then Mac DeMarco. So this one's interesting because
Yeah, it is.
What
Yeah.
what I do recently is I have a playlist, and I talked about this for anybody who tuned into my newsletter maybe two newsletters ago, a newsletter ago. When I listen to music, I have a new thing that I do where I listen to albums in their entirety. For Mac DeMarco, I've been going through different through different artists' back catalog. Mac DeMarco was one that I did this year for about, I want to say, a week or two, maybe 2 weeks, closer to 2 weeks. And what I do is I just take the albums, I put them into one playlist called To Listen, and that's all I listen to the
Interesting.
entirety of anything. And it's, yeah.
when I did my Spotify Wrapped, it gave me like a Archer as my archetype, which just means that I skip through songs all the time and I find the one I'm looking for.
No, are you really?
I'm like
Oh.
a every my entire library of like songs on shuffle kind of guy, and just
Mm.
let the world take me. I actually really enjoy the Spotify DJ. So
I don't like the DJ because I think I need more new music to be like for me to be engaged. So one of the things that I got called a shapeshifter because one moment I'm head over heels for an artist and the next I move on, and that's my
not
listening
just
habit.
music. Oh,
Hey, oi. And in this for this example, Mac DeMarco has an album that is 9 hours long, and I
oh, okay,
listened
yeah.
to the entirety of nine. So I think that affected the algorithm, frankly. Kendrick Lamar, my favorite rapper. I listen to his shit all the time.
It's
There's a
why so
year.
institutionalized number 2 in your top songs is not the Suicidal Tendency song, and it's
No,
in
it is the
fact the
Kendrick
Kendrick
Lamar
Lamar
song.
song. Okay,
That's right. That's right. And I've become more a fan of his as I've explored more rap within the same kind of vein. So JID Jid is a more recent find for me.
Jid's
Really
good.
good stuff. Real
Jid's real
good.
good. Yeah.
J Cole is somebody that I'm trying to continue to learn a bit more about. Uh, and lastly, the Beatles. The Beatles, to which I contest that they should not be there. I think this is an algorithmic
I
fluke. I
agree.
think I like I love the Beatles, but I don't listen. I feel like I don't listen to them as often as I do. I have I shit you not. I probably don't have maybe 15 of all of their songs liked on my Spotify of everything that they've put out,
Interesting.
like albums proper. I am missing maybe in total 15 songs. 'Cause
I don't
they,
see a Beatles song in your top songs either. So
yeah, also that, yeah, From the
yeah.
Start, which is the Lauvi song, Naima's Coltrane actually, and 512 is more reggaeton.
The
But
what screwed me over last year for my Spotify Wrapped was I had left a playlist playing on my computer on mute on repeat, and so my Spotify Wrapped was like, "You just like exotica music," and I'm like, "Well, no, yeah, I do, but it's not what I meant to do."
but not that much.
Exactly, yeah. So did you leave a playlist of the Beatles playing in the background or something?
No, I think I think it has something to do with the cache, like on the like to load songs faster, and because I have a lot of Beatles songs and I listen to them sometimes, it's just one of those things that it'll go back to. But I feel like I see a Beatles song and I made because this has been the same top artist for the past 3 years, 3 years now, and I'm like, yo, I'm making an active choice anytime there's a Beatles song to skip it,
Good.
not because I don't
Join me
not.
on the anti Beatles wagon.
No, the Beatles are incredibly influential and amazing artists, but I don't want them to be my number one artist anymore because I don't think I listen to them as often as I do.
I would love to see how the sausage is made here.
Same. Yeah. Like,
But
is
yeah.
it plays? Is it how deep into a song you get?
So you like Kendrick? Did you listen to "Scaring the Hose" by JPEG Mafia and Danny Brown at all this year?
No, is that
That's some good stuff.
new?
Yeah. New as in it came out this year. Yeah.
No.
Do you have you listened to JPEG Mafia and Danny Brown at all?
I've heard of JPEG Mafia. I
Danny
might have a
Brown's
song or two.
great, dude. Yeah. I saw Danny Brown and Schoolboy Q open for Childish Gambino one year at Central Park. That I was
Whoa.
late to because I got into a car accident, but I just ditched my car and went to the show anyway.
What?
I knew where the car was. It was near my uncle's house, so I just
Oh,
parked it there and we just went to the train instead.
oh
But
no,
Spotify Wrapped is people always like meme about it online now. It's like I don't want to know what your Spotify Wrapped is. I want to know what your Spotify Wrapped is.
yeah,
Like
same.
it's revealing. Like mine, like you'd think a twink had mine, but you know this is what I listen to. My friend Kim said that my top is all for bottoms.
No.
I was like, oh,
I,
I guess so.
I,
Yeah.
to address Brandon Barnett in the chat, the Doors are not better than the Beatles.
I disagree.
They
I love the Doors.
what?
Yeah.
The Doors? No, I can't.
I think better and more influential are very different prompts. But if we're talking better, I agree.
I can't.
There's like the
Just the
ephemeral nature of the Doors. I think the Beatles is so manufactured.
What?
Yeah.
Nah, dude, I
They
don't
were made in
know.
a lab. Let's be real.
By UK scientists
I agree. Yeah. Yeah.
to mind wipe us all.
Oh, Dan says I have a head injury now. No, I've just been drinking. That's our show, guys. That's what we're going to talk about. I don't think Sean and Cale might have a Spotify Wrapped. I don't think Sean. He might actually. He just kind of plays that
It,
stuff
it,
close to the vest.
yeah, but it's probably like all metal.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I'd be curious to see what those twos are.
Kale's definitely pop punk.
Christian Harris says my rap gets ruined by work. I cook at a large daycare, so what I listen to and what I want to listen to are very different. That's
Damn,
fair.
that
Yeah.
sucks. Yeah.
Yeah, like I tend to listen to like a Martin Denny and some like exotica music, or I listen to like Vera Lynn, just to
Oh,
like
Berlin.
I love like old like big band music and Vera Lynn and stuff.
Mm,
But that's when I need to relax. That's when I need to chill. I wouldn't consider that music I listen to. It's music I need in certain moments. That was my New York Comic Con playlist. It was a whole bunch of like Vera Lynn music just to get through those crowds when I had my headphones on when I was by myself. So I was surprised that didn't really show up. My Marco, I'll send you my 2023 playlist just so you can see what's in there because
ooh, okay,
it
yeah.
is wild. It goes from like Vera Lynn to Creed to Limp Bizkit and then to the Miami Boys Jewish Choir.
Yo, that is, but I feel like that's kind of a similar. Actually, no, hold on, I'm looking through. No, never mind. Mine's a lot of what I have listed out, but it still gets all over the place.
Mine is very all over the place. It is. There's a lot of new metal on there too. It's weird, but yeah, that's the show, guys. Thank you for joining us for Pals Pulls, even though we're too short. It was
We
nice.
call it short.
Oh, okay, that's all right, Napoleon. It was nice just hanging out with Marco. Nothing against the other guys, but like kind of let them live. And Marco and I guess generally enjoyed the books this week too.
Yeah, really good stuff.
I feel like you and I isn't a pairing that happens often, so.
Yeah, right. But
Yeah.
I feel like we're it's always like well, we always devolve into like food conversation at some point. But
We didn't this week.
yeah, we
Yeah, that's why I put Spotify in here. I figured music might tempt us away, and I ate before the show.
Oh, are we the Miami boys? Is that what is Columbo calling us the Miami?
No,
boys?
the Miami Boy Choir. They do there was like a TikTok thing. Yeah, you're sure I don't speak Hebrew, but that song slaps. It sounds like an anime music intro. I'll send it to you. I'll send
Now
it
I'm
to you.
interested.
But yeah, guys, until Saturday, we'll see you Saturday. I'm not sure what the show is about, but we'll figure it out, and we'll see you then, 10:15 a.m. Eastern, right here. But for Pals Pulls, I'm Tyler. That's Marco.